Um, it's so different. You're spot on the money there.
It
And
No, yeah, we've really been thinking about it, Josh, quantitatively. We're like, you need to learn the first 30% of our product. And that already is going to blow your mind and give you a car instead of a horse. So that's the focus. And then we have sort of a 7 days later, we want to show you the other 30% that gives you much more of the super user capabilities. The final 40% you will explore over time, and we'll have sort of super user capabilities for it. But some of this really isn't. We'll let Josh get his video back or audio. Some of this really isn't going to be necessary to every business, and we want to acknowledge that. And so that's, again, the value we get out of our beta program and our friends and family is people who have no idea how to use this thing are going to go through a tutorial, and then they're going to be able to feed back to us, you told us this, but what we really care about is this. And this is what I've been using in my first 7 days to really value the product and some of the core features you've developed. So that's where we've got a lot of our kind of our steer co in place, as Chad said, and it's well beyond Chad and I already. We've brought in not only our marketing partners, but some of our other friends and contributors to the project and investors to help us just brainstorm around this and be continued kind of objective sounding boards as we've been close to this thing for 2 years.
So sorry about that, guys. I lost audio for about a minute there, but
the power of recording as well.
Yeah.
No, but yeah, Josh, I was sort of answering a bit there already, and can go back, later if we need to. But I know we got a lot of questions to cover.
For sure. Yeah, I'll let Jeff take over. I might have a couple at the end there, but thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
All right. Maggie, I think Bry says he's no questions from Bry. Maggie, any questions from you?
No, I sent that to you in Slack.
Oh, okay. I was looking in the chat. Too many things to keep up with from a
like a DJ.
Yeah. It's like, all right. So I'm gonna find one. So you've got. I mean, we saw all the competitors last night. We even had our friend from Boone, whose customer is one of your.
I saw that. We were like, oh, it's Ring Central.
Like don't kill him too soon. We got a fellow founder trying to make some money there. So there's a lot of competitors out there. What keeps them from, changing what they're doing to create an offer that's more parallel to what you're doing? And to answer that one first, I got another sort of market question as well.
Chad, I'll give you, how I've answered this one. I'll answer this from a business side. Why don't you answer it technically? Because that's really the impressive side.
Yeah, so technically, Jeff, we spent 2 years rewriting the way a PBX should work. And should work, I'm being very biased. It's based on maybe a collective of 15 years of running a call center as an SMB and fielding customers for the biggest bank in South Africa, the biggest cash centers and cash in transit companies. So my little four-seat call center, which I ran at the end of the day, I had to manage all this in real time with very high SLAs. And I had to remodel the way we worked a call center, the way we handled calls, and we had to deal with issues. And it worked phenomenally well. I mean, to the point where our biggest customer absolutely was insisting on buying us. We weren't up for sale, but we had no choice. We handled too much of the bank's infrastructure and call center for them not to acquire us due to legal risk. It worked phenomenally well. And again, it's 15 years of experience modeling ideas, running it as an SMB who's my target market. This is where Scott and I complement each other very well. I'm very SMB focused. He's very client focused. And we both understand the dilemma on both sides. So from that aspect, we've engineered a system with what I've learned. And there is nothing off the shelf. I'm sure, yes. I mean, and this is again why we're bringing in Demetrius and them. When people see what we're doing, everyone's going to pivot here because it's the obvious solution and it's worked for me as an individual. And I was phenomenally successful in my own business. And now I finally got to a point with where technology is, where I can actually move this entire concept to the cloud and leverage SIP in the cloud, which I never had. I actually had PBXs running in the background in offices, but back in my days. So there is a lot of development. Nothing stops competition from coming in. I think it's going to encourage people to come into our sector, but there's a lot more than just writing software that goes into what we've done. There's a lot of experience I've gathered over 15 years. And I know it works. Again, I got a call center I took over with 30 plus seat operators. I got it down to 4, 2 on standby, and I ended up taking over 4 call centers of 4 major entities, and with the same volume of people. I know what it takes to handle a lot of calls quickly, and that's sort of what I've spent 2 years trying to put in the code. That transparency, efficiency, that automated HR aspect to keep the the call center agents competitive, a whole lot of stuff that I learned. And I think that's where the SMB is going to be surprised and delighted. This is beyond just a thing that handles incoming phone calls. It gives them the ability to do real-time HR resourcing. It creates a competitive environment. It creates transparency, creates efficiencies that people simply just don't do today. And any solution, there are solutions. So I'm going to take 2 steps back. There are solutions in the corporate world, but they're not mobile. You have to be behind a desk. You have to be in a call center. You have to be plugged into 5 different endpoints to do this. It's not a simple solution you can put on your phone.
Okay. Scott, did you want to add anything? Yeah.
May I add something to what Chad said? So what Chad described here, which is a lot of technology, as he said, during the last 15 years or the more recent years, we've worked with Chad, my team has worked with Chad and Scott to dig very deep to identify what are some very fundamental inventions that are there. In fact, Chad will tell you that when we started the discussion, he did not know how to identify those very deep inventions. And so we have filed for 6 pretty phenomenal patent applications. So anybody who tries to duplicate what he's been doing all those years, he's going to bump on 1 or more of those patents.
Okay, so there's protection in the specific method that has been used to do this.
Yes. Yes.
And but these are big companies, so it's not like they're just gonna give up, right? They're gonna...
we would love to have them acquire because of the technology and the patents, or even more so, we have the ability to sue them.
Yeah, if they decide that they want to try to replicate the method.
Exactly.
Okay.
That was the only point I was going to make was the IP, which I will never make as elegantly as my friend Demetrius did.
Excellent. So I'm going to go back to polling the group. Ding Sheng's asked a question. Josh has asked a question. Devin, Natalia, do you guys have any questions? I got a list that I can keep going down. So we've got about 5 minutes left.
Jeff knows this space.
Yeah.
No, so, Jeff, you go ahead.
I do have one. I just want to just a reminder on the use of funds, and I think I saw a percentage there for C-suite compensation. Can we just talk through that?
Yeah, we got Chad on salary. So we got we're going to be hiring. I think if from memory, I don't have the slide pulled up right now, but we're going to be hiring 1 additional support engineer for Chad. To be sort of extendable hands and legs and help him scale, particularly I think on the front end. And then we are really going to probably need a general athlete to help with sort of all things organizational and G&A within the company. And that's really the rest. We've got, our outsourced marketing team, and they execute. They're not an idea shop. They actually implement. So they do the writing, they do the push of content, they do the copywriting, they do all of the organization around it. So we don't really plan to build a team. And that's back to why we don't really plan to raise more money. And we don't really plan to deal with HR problems. And we don't really plan to do anything but focus on implementing our technology and getting to 1 million users by the end of the year, which is our goal. That we've also put as a bonus for our agency if we can get to 1 million users by December 31st. So that's really what we are targeting as a team.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right, so this may end up being our final question. You've talked about a bunch of different use cases like doctor's offices, tire stores. of all of those things, I mean, they have some things in common, but those businesses are very different. Which is the one or one or two that you think is going to be like the main starting use case, and why?
I'll give a quick answer at an industry level. So, and Chad and I obviously talk every day about this stuff, but the mobile distributed businesses won't be able to live without us. And that's across every sector. And as we talk to investors and friends, they always give us a new example. They're like, oh, and then there's this business, they're going to have this. And it's that combination, like Chad said, anybody who doesn't want to have to be behind a mainframe, those business owners.
And to add that, think of any SMB that has devices in the field, ATM operators, vendors, kiosks, hardware, telephony. There are a whole lot of invisible infrastructure that sits behind a whole lot of stuff that has a little SMB running around to ensure the uptime. And those guys will leverage the value of a system like this the most.
One of my favorite ideas from one of our angel investors that came in was, and then I bounced it off of a couple of my friends, private equity shops are going to love us. They're in the business of buying, 40 to 80 fragmented businesses, and immediately they can roll out Symmetrical, see everything happening operationally, see who's working, who isn't, who's phoning it in, who's competitive in what environment, what types of calls are coming in, what the customer profile is. It's the dream for a PE shop. So that's one example of a segment that, again, goes after that sort of fragmented piece that really quickly is incentivized to consolidate. We know people that sell tooling to PE shops because that's the software world they're in. So that's an example of a vertical we're going to be attacking early.
Okay, well, I'm looking down my list of questions and our time remaining, and I think maybe we stop it there, unless anybody else has a question that they've got to get in to this session. Okay. Chad, Scott, thanks so much for coming out last night. Thanks so much for coming out again this morning and answering our questions. Really appreciate it. And we will let you know on the back end how much interest we have and exactly how that's going to play out here, over the course of the next several working days. So
amazing.
a little bit busy with UNR graduations and a bunch of other stuff you heard us talk about in the meeting last night. So it might take us a little bit longer to get back to you as it's all good stuff, but lot of activity with us over the next few days. So
well, great questions. Thanks for the time, and everyone enjoy the weekend.
All right.
Chad, thank you.
Keep well.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone.
All right. Just us now. Interest. I don't know whether Dimitri, you want to sort of lead off by saying like why you think these guys are good, because clearly you're already engaged with them, which says a lot.
Yeah, I'll be glad to. Well, some of my top investing criteria is who the skipper or skippers are, and their ability to navigate not only through calm waters but through storms. These two guys, I mean, you see them, but they have been very successful in their careers. They have been funding this company so far just from their own pockets. Chad is an amazing technical guy, and Scott is a very, very good business person and marketing. So what I'm looking for is whether they are enthusiastic to the outside world, but also to me is very important whether they are paranoid inside on what they're doing, or what can go wrong, because things will change. And I assess both of them, each one of them, their ability to pivot and navigate as they go through the good days and the storms at a very high level. So this is, in my experience of doing this game of angel investing for almost 30 years, I have come to determine that this is some of my top criteria. The fact that they're addressing a market which may have a lot of competitors, but they have some true uniqueness, and it is protected. So that's what I see.
Cool. Well, we had at least 4 people sign up on the sheet last night.